Heater coming to you. So next to me is Terrence. Terrence, what's your favorite Tom Petty and the Heartbreaker song?
I'm gonna go with Over the Hills. I think.
Over the Hills and Free Fallin'.
Yeah.
Sarah Silverett for the first time ever in the studio.
Yes, this is a very exciting day for me. I also forgot my glasses at home.
Oh.
So, yeah, we'll see how that goes.
So you're just pretending to look at that computer?
Yeah.
Just a big,
it's a prop,
big
but,
Rorschach test in front of you. Thank you for joining us, everyone, on what is shaping up to be a really exciting week in technology news.
Thrilling. Yeah. It's just you now just make snoring noises into the microphone for the next 45 minutes.
We're in a. I think it's safe to say that we are still in a bit of a lull. That period of time between, I guess, Black Friday and CES, when nothing happens in technology.
Nothing at all.
The fact that our two top stories are, I don't know, probably read-write web fodder.
Yeah, I could see that.
Things that maybe on a week when something was happening may not have made it to our homepage.
Yeah, I mean we might have mentioned them in passing during the course of the podcast in a busier week, but
here's what I'll say. If you run a service and you have news that can otherwise be I think gotten out pretty well in a press release, but you want people to cover it, then pretend like you're throwing a big event for something.
Yeah. Invite 30 or 40 of your closest journalism friends to your office and put up stage and just make a big show.
The least you could do is invite Robert Plant out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you're going to go through the trouble of throwing a press event and announcing that Led Zeppelin is on your streaming service.
Maybe I'm spoiled after the announcement that Metallica was coming to Spotify, and they had Lars come out and they rehashed the whole Napster bit on stage for an hour, and it was great. And this time around, just nothing.
Sure. Jimmy Page could come out and read some, Aleister Crowley texts.
Yeah.
Or Robert Plant could come out and read the foreword from The Hobbit. I mean, there's a lot of things that they could have done on stage to celebrate. To me, I think it was the really big news. We were I think maybe about halfway through the press event, and Billy made some comment about whether or not they'd finally announced that Led Zeppelin was being added to the catalog, and lo and behold.
And they're finally adding it. It's going to be exclusive to Spotify. And
exclusive in the streaming world, because iTunes, you can already get Led Zeppelin.
Clearly, though, this is a beta product. They're rolling it out in drips and drabs. Yesterday it was only 1 and 2. Yep. Today they added 3 and 4. So
what about us Presence fans?
You're going to have to wait at least another week, I think.
Yeah. In through the outdoor. There's like house at least add Houses of the Holy. If I get Houses of the Holy and Physical Graffiti by the end of the week, I think I'll be happy.
You think you'll be okay?
I've been going through and re-listening to everything. I have everything on every single other format. I probably have some 8-track tapes of Led Zeppelin lying around somewhere, but yet I'm going through. So
yeah,
good for the John Bonham estate. Right? They're finally making the money they deserve.
If I could actually get Spotify to load and play music, I would be doing the same thing.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact. Let's talk about the fact that I wanted to make sure that as you said, that they haven't added anything beyond Zoso at this point. So I typed Led Zeppelin into the Spotify desktop version, and it doesn't realize that my computer is online right now.
This has been going on for years, it feels like. This happens to me every 4th time that I sign on to Spotify on the desktop.
They've clearly got money to spend. They're buying up Led Zeppelin songs. You can't.
Yeah. This is the first time I've gotten the web app to load in
exciting.
Like 24 hours.
Yeah. You think it's all the Zepp? It's all these Zepp fans are crashing
it? It has to be.
You think Spotify's going down like a Led Zeppelin?
I do enjoy that there is this nice big banner though at the top that lets me know that Led Zeppelin is here.
At least part of it.
Yeah.
We actually had to go in and fact check this story to make sure that we had gotten the news right. That the news wasn't just they had added 2 Led Zeppelin albums. I was also really interested in doing sort of like a side story about all of the Led Zeppelin cover bands that will no longer be able to make any money. Like there seems to be, and this is a phenomenon that's been going on for a while. And if you go to like do a search for like the Beatles right now on there, and everything that's going to come up are these people like covering Abbey Road in its entirety. So there've got to be studio musicians out there who are making the lion's share of their income right now just doing these sound alike albums.
Yeah.
And I assume that Zeppelin was a pretty big part of that. So you know, how are they gonna put their kids through college?
They're not going to be able to. They're going to have to go to community college now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way it is.
I mean, let's be honest. If their parents were in a Led Zeppelin cover band, they were probably going to community college.
If
anyway,
if they were lucky.
As far as Spotify is concerned, that wasn't really the big news. Big news being so this is going to be. This was actually surprisingly difficult to parse as the news was. Terrence, you and I were at the event the other day, and as the news was coming through, it was kind of difficult to make the distinction. Sarah, like a week or so ago, you hit a rumor that mobile streaming was going to be free.
It was going to be free and ad supported.
Yeah, as you can get on the desktop version.
Yes.
Can you do that on the browser version? Can you do non-premium Spotify ad supported? That exists, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. But which was always kind of the big appeal of Spotify. I mean, that was what everybody was talking up when the service was first coming over to the States. Because obviously Rhapsody's been around for a number of years, Napster's been around for a number of years, but the idea that you could do this streaming for free and just kind of listen to some ads was a big part of it. Wasn't something that existed on the mobile platform until this week, but it kind of exists now in two very interesting pieces. So there's the tablet version, which is basically like the full desktop version, but you get on your tablet. It's fully ad supported. And then there's this other mobile device version that is based on shuffling. So as far as I can tell, this is kind of an answer to like Pandora's answer to being able to the way they can offer up all that music for free is that they're not giving you full albums at a time. So I guess you can't really go through and pirate it. Spotify's answer is that you can listen to an artist, you can listen to the artist that you choose. You just have to shuffle through their catalog.
An interesting solution. I don't know. I was kind of taken aback by that when I heard that. I was like, it's an interesting approach. It's an original approach, but it seems very weird.
Well, it is and it isn't because again, I guess they have a relatively high conversion rate for people having free accounts and then picking a premium account. I think it's like 20%, which is pretty high for something like that. But if you can basically get the same exact service, except that you have to listen to some ads, I think you're probably going to be a little less likely to make that conversion. If it's just shuffling randomly through Lady Gaga's catalog, then, maybe you'll pony up $10 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think ads seem more appealing in that case. I wouldn't want to listen to an album. Can you shuffle by album, or is it just really an artist's entire catalog?
Just artists, but there is an interesting caveat here.
You can do it with playlists, too. So if you add an album as a playlist, you can shuffle the album.
Which is, I mean, that's kind of how I'm listening to albums these days anyway, right? I mean, my iPod is usually in shuffle mode.
Is it?
Yeah. So the album's dead. I think you turned to me at one point and said this is basically the nail in the coffin of the album format.
Yeah, well, not just the album format, but the art of album sequencing, because it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. Which is a shame.
Yeah. You really think Led Zeppelin put a lot of time into
sequencing those albums?
Yeah.
Yes, actually, probably.
Yeah, no, of course they did. All that great album artwork you get now on Spotify in 500 pixel wide.
That's cool. The web app stopped working again. We're back to where we belong.
And then with that, we close the big news of the week, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, pretty much.
The other big news of the week, I also got dragged into, I would argue, an even less exciting press event this morning, courtesy of Instagram.
Which I almost got suckered into, but managed to escape.
But you didn't get one of those cool wood blocks, so you didn't have to go to it.
It's true.
That was the most exciting part, I think, of the
invitation.
Was the cool wood blocked invitation? I should have brought that.
You should have.
It's just to come along on a mind journey with me, ladies and gentlemen, and try to imagine what that sepia tone wood block I got looks like. There was about half of like a 1984 station wagon on it.
Yeah, but not even like half, like the front half cut off. It was like driving in a road. It was just the grill in the distance chopped off.
We had these fantasies because Joseph got one too, and his was also a piece of a car, but albeit a different car. So we had these like exciting fantasies that we all had to bring our wood blocks, and then we would all put them together and form one giant picture. Like, what if they didn't hold a press conference? What if like we didn't know what the feature was until we had all assembled this giant wood block together?
That's why they flew all the way to New York.
No, Sarah, they flew all the way to New York because they wanted to prove that they were an international company.
Oh, yes.
So they flew to the other side of the country.
I mean, maybe more international than San Francisco, right? I'm trying to think of some reason.
I mean, not in the sense that it's in the same nation. It's the...
I'll give you that. Yeah, I was... No.
Sorry, Instagram.
All right, so the news is Instagram Direct. The news is that you can now do direct messaging within the confines of Instagram.
So they announced basically the same exact thing that Twitter announced the day
2
before,
days ago.
And that Snapchat has been doing for... And we've... Okay, go ahead.
Well, okay, so like... obviously a lot of rumors leading up to this thing. Joseph and I were sitting there trying to figure out what this was going to be about, and he got he saw a last minute tweet. Somebody thought they were going to be announcing some printers.
Do either of you use Instagram?
I have. Joseph installed it this morning. Do you guys use Instagram?
I do, but I thought neither of you use Instagram,
no.
So I thought that was pretty cool that you guys were invited.
Of all the people,
we weren't invited on Instagram. That would have been the way to do it. I think. I don't know how I got the invite. I might be on a mailing list somewhere. I don't know. But the rumor was that they were going to do printers, which like at least would have been some hardware that we could have looked at.
Which would have been the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah, that would have been great, right? That would have been a great, crazy, awesome story. Or maybe Led Zeppelin would finally be on Instagram. I would join Instagram if Robert Plant was on Instagram.
What would he post photos of?
I don't know, weird hobbits and crap. his Lord of the Rings collection.
Maybe concept art for his own like fanfic Lord of the Rings.
God. What if they did it? What if they did a Lord of the Rings musical featuring the music of Page and Plant? How
is that not a thing?
How is that not a thing? Also, what if they had Instagram in 1978 when they had the airship? Have you seen that? Have you seen photos of the Led Zeppelin private jet that had a fireplace on it?
Yes.
That would have been awesome.
That would have been awesome
to just see all the excess of rock and roll in the late 80s. Anyway, so but the rumor was that this was going to be a direct Snapchat competitor. There was a story that came out, I guess about a week or so ago. We were talking about it on the podcast last week that Facebook had offered up $300 million. Does that sound about right? $300 million to buy Snapchat.
Think so.
Yeah. Which they had turned down. So I guess the theory goes that Instagram was going to create a direct competitor. I don't
3
think
billion.
3 million?
3 billion.
Billion.
That's a
wow.
lot more.
I really undersold that.
I wrote that and I couldn't remember it.
Yeah, it's more money than anybody in this room can fathom.
It's
more money than Robert Plant can fathom.
I just can't imagine that Snapchat is worth that much money, though.
No.
No.
Yeah,
I mean...
No. How much what was it? Instagram was like $1 billion?
I think it was $1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 billion.
Yeah.
1 billion for Instagram. Somehow Snapchat is worth 3?
Well...
I mean, I guess automatically deleting pictures of people's genitalia is worth quite a bit of money, but...
I mean, I couldn't go... If you paid me enough, I would go in and manually do that. I could be the guy. If Instagram will hire me, I could be the guy who deletes genitals. They'll call me the enforcer. But that's what I was getting at is that, is you can't really call this a Snapchat competitor because that right? Isn't that's why people are using Snapchat is because that kind
Pictures
of ephemeral.
Aren't saved.
Yeah, that ephemeral
exactly.
quality.
Ephemeral.
It's a good word.
It is a good word.
Yeah, that's why I use it twice in a sentence.
That's why you've used it like 17 times today.
Yeah. It's been a very ephemeral day for me. I don't even know what it means. I just like the sound
It was
of
your
it.
word of the day, and you just decided to busy to like actually read the definition. Just gonna
I can't
work it
be
in.
bothered. I can't. I'm too busy Snapchatting.
Exactly.
But there's it's like a little tab up at the top. You click through. You could pick up to 15 people, send photos to them. Your own photos are saved in the inbox. That's it.
You can text, but you have to send a photo first.
Well,
Right?
yeah. That was another question that was asked after the event, whether you can just text, which I thought was kind of a funny question because it really speaks to, I guess, why this isn't that interesting of a feature, because this is basically like, picture messaging. But they said obviously that just sending messages isn't really the idea of Instagram. Fair enough, right? I think
Sure.
it's more functionality on Instagram.
Yeah. We're the wrong people to be talking about this. You're the one who uses Instagram.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So I don't see the usefulness of this. I was trying to see, like, what group of people, why would I want to send a filtered photo in particular, to a certain group of people rather than all of my followers on Instagram? I can't think of a use case for that.
So I guess the idea is to kind of cut down on the inanity of sending your breakfast to everybody. It is basically what it comes down to. I mean, I understand wanting a feature where you can just send it to a few people. I think that's fine. You don't necessarily. It's like Facebook. I mean, that's why the Facebook privacy settings are nice, because you don't want every single message you send going out to every single person.
I suppose.
So yeah, it's nice, but is it going to bring anybody on board? Absolutely not.
Do you need to do that through Instagram?
Couldn't
I mean,
you just
all the
do that
Instagram
through
really adds is a
text
filter.
messaging?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess if you've got a strong Instagram presence and you have a lot of people on there and you're very active there, then maybe that's a nice way to get a hold of a group of people. But there were the number was I think at the top of the year they started with 80 million users and they're now at 150 people. 50% of Instagram users are using the service once a day. I think that number will probably go up, but I don't think the other number is going to go up. I think people will probably use it a little more often if something is sent out doesn't have to go to everybody.
I guess maybe. I don't
What
know.
I'm saying is this is a life-changing new feature, and I'm finally ready to make the jump onto Instagram.
It's one of the social networking things that I just don't get. I have an Instagram account. I've literally never used it. I have it solely so that I know, like, when my wife tags me in photos. That's it. Like, you have to take that one down. It's terrible. That's the sole purpose for my
What
Instagram account.
What is the most embarrassing thing your wife has tagged on
Oh,
Instagram?
God, I have no idea.
See, if she had direct messaging, maybe it wouldn't be such a problem.
Well, no, because I think her whole goal is
To embarrass you
me.
so that's fair. That's why we like her.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the big news of the week.
We can close the show down now.
I'm fine ending the show right now if you guys want to do that. I got a few things left on the list right now we can go through. I'm not particularly excited about any of them. Ubuntu, this is kind of interesting. Ubuntu's first smartphone deal is for high-end devices, which to me I think totally defeats the purpose of an Ubuntu phone. Terrence, you feel differently?
I do feel differently. I don't think it defeats the purpose. I don't know. I am a little bit confused by it. I want to know who the partner is, for one. They say they have a hardware partner that they're working with, but they can't tell us who it is.
Vertu.
Oh, man, that would be amazing.
The highest of high-end.
That would be so good. Please let it be Vertu.
BlackBerry?
God, no, it can't be.
Nokia.
It can't. Nokia, I'd almost believe.
I should have put that on the list. There were more rumors again about Nokia Android handset.
Yeah.
Now that they're owned by Microsoft.
Makes perfect sense.
They waited until Microsoft bought them to put out their first Android phone. LG, HTC. Those are my guesses.
It's got to be somebody like that. But
I mean, Samsung, actually, when it comes right down to it, Samsung will do anything.
yeah,
Will literally do anything.
it's very, very true. I mean,
It'll be a
do-
12-inch phone, but
Android, whatever their own OS is that I don't remember the name of because
Tizen.
or something like that.
Tizen.
yeah,
Who knows?
Can't pronounce it.
Nobody's ever going to use it. and they do Windows phones, and they still do dumb phones. Why not add Ubuntu to the mix?
Sure. I mean,
Makes
they're
sense.
willing to take a shot.
Won't cost them anything.
It's Apple, isn't it? Right? Wouldn't that be the twist of the century?
That would be.
So the reason why I think that this is a strange story is because Ubuntu is Canonical is one of those companies that I talk about when I talk about Mozilla. When I talk about these companies that are targeting mobile OSs for the developing world, because obviously Linux is huge out there. A lot of people are using Ubuntu. It kind of makes sense to translate that operating system over into the mobile space. What I think you've spent probably, Terrence, more time than anybody else in this room with the Ubuntu smartphone, right? You've played around with it a little bit.
Very, very briefly.
Is it bringing anything to the table that you're not getting on the other operating systems?
Not really, no. I mean, like, it seems nice. It's pretty-ish, but it does a direct
message.
It doesn't really seem to be bringing much to the table. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's sort of a shame. The entire, hope for Ubuntu being successful on the mobile front is that they're able to build like a really seamless ecosystem where the mobile apps are also desktop apps. Mm-hmm. And, that's where it seems like Mark Shuttleworth is really betting everything. He's like, no. This distinction between mobile OSs and tablet OSs and desktop OSs is going to disappear. And so you're going to want to have the same exact apps, not just the same service, but the same exact applications that are sharing a single source of data on all these platforms. I don't necessarily buy into the idea, but that's what he's clearly banking.
Versus like any cloud-based app that's also sharing all that information across platforms.
Well, here's the thing is, in talking about the, sort of targeting the developing markets, which I get why you're saying the high-end smartphone thing doesn't necessarily make sense a whole lot. But I don't want to put words in Mark Shuttleworth's mouth, obviously. But I think his argument would be that...
Can you do it in his accent at least?
No, that I
really
can't.
Want to
We're
do
not
a South
doing
African accent?
His argument would be that, a lot of the people he's targeting are people whose first computer is going to be their smartphone. And with, the Ubuntu for Android push where...
And you're speaking of people in developing nations when you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole idea being that, you could take the Ubuntu for Android thing where you can take your phone, drop it in a dock, or plug it into an HDMI cord and hook it up to a monitor, and it turns into a full-fledged Ubuntu desktop. The idea is that you can do that with this phone, but it's going to have to be a relatively high-powered device to do that and pull that off.
Which I think totally blocks them out of that market. I think creating that expensive phone really takes them out of the equation. Especially when Nokia, for example, is a company that's got pretty good foothold in a lot of developing nations. Yeah. They can get in there relatively easily. I mean, again, like Mozilla is developing their own, and Android is pretty cheap to put on phones too.
Yeah, in that it's free.
Well, yeah, I think they're still charging that the Microsoft surcharge, right? That $5 that Microsoft makes on every Android device. But does it assume when he's talking about this great the experience kind of translates over from the desktop? Does it assume that people who are using Ubuntu on their desktop also want to go out and buy an Ubuntu smartphone because they like that experience?
I think that's part of the assumption, but I think the other assumption is that he's hoping is that your Ubuntu phone becomes your Ubuntu desktop.
Yeah.
You're saying that high price would put some of these markets out of him, put some of these people out of the market for affording a high-end phone. But the idea is if you're buying a high-end phone, and even if it's, off contract and you have to spend $500 on it, buying a $500 high-end phone is still cheaper than buying a $500 cheap desktop and a $200 cheap phone.
So this would be your main device?
Yeah, this would be
hypothetically
everything. That's the end goal. Whether or not he can actually get there is something else completely different, but that's the idea. I don't know if it's necessarily a good one.
I just, it might be a time. It might be an idea whose time isn't quite here yet. I mean, I also right afterwards I stuck a story in about this new Qualcomm Snapdragon chip, which is targeted towards. I think I might have stuck the same link in twice, which is targeted towards emerging markets, but it's bringing some pretty high end specs. It's got LTE support. It's got 64-bit architecture. So it seems like in the very near future, we're going to be at a point where you'll be able to produce a very affordable, very high-powered handset. So maybe this Ubuntu operating system needs to just wait a couple of years.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe the term high end is throwing people off. I think we'll have to wait to Mobile World Congress and see exactly what they mean by that.
I assume high end means high cost, so maybe that's on me.
Oh, I don't know. It's such a
no.
vague term.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if what they're talking about as being high end is comparable spec wise to like a Moto X, which isn't really terribly high end,
Right.
and is for they were able to sell it for what, $350, right? During
about
Black Friday, whatever, and that's probably them selling it at cost. I'm sure they weren't like eating a major loss on that.
right.
So if you can sell a phone for $350, $400 off contract, that's powerful enough. That's a reasonable thing.
In some parts of the developing world, perhaps, but
Yeah.
but I would say probably the vast majority of that's $400 is still.
Well, let's also be really clear about what these companies mean when they talk about developing markets and emerging markets and stuff
Canada,
like that. Yes. Well, no. Canada isn't even a developing market anymore. They're not even a country. Remember, they've ended
Postal
door to
service.
door to your door mail
Yeah.
delivery. They don't qualify as a country.
So like maybe the Dakotas or
Yeah, that's-
like a South Carolina, but not a North Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. I mean, you're not talking about like tribes in like sub-Saharan Africa. They're talking about like reasonably well-established, Middle Eastern nations and Southeast Asian countries where they have a decent amount of infrastructure and emerging economies built around manufacturing and stuff like that, where people can afford these luxuries because they are a cell phone is a luxury. A smartphone is a luxury item.
But that said, when you're talking about a lot of these African nations, you're talking about places where people, like a lot of people have cell phones, where a lot of people still use their cell phone as their primary computer.
Oh, yeah, no. But those aren't the markets they're talking about selling these things to. Like even Nokia, when it talks about selling its phone in emerging markets, they're not talking about, desert tribes. They're talking about urban, 20-somethings in Jordan.
Here's what I'll say for the Ubuntu mobile operating system. It looks nice. I like Canonical. I interviewed Mark Shuttleworth. He seems like a nice guy.
He's super nice, dude.
Between this and the Indiegogo fiasco,
Yeah.
I mean, I think Canonical needs to sort of like take a step back and reassess what they're doing in the smartphone space.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. As a guy who uses Ubuntu as his daily driver, I'm saying this. I'm a friend and a fan. Yeah. You might want to rethink this one a little bit.
Microsoft, they're giving us numbers at least for Xboxes.
Yeah, I forgot. Last week we talked about this.
We talked about zombies.
I yelled a whole lot. Microsoft has seen fit to placate me after watching last week's podcast,
Sure.
clearly. They were like...
They got all of your letters.
And they've told us now that they've sold 2 million Xbox Ones, as opposed to they've killed 500 million zombies.
Yeah. That's nice. It's nice to have a number. It's not a great number, but 2 million, it still translates into. I think it's not the train wreck that a lot of people were expecting when they put out those initial numbers, but it's not the PlayStation's numbers.
No, not even close.
They sold 1 million in the first 24 hours, as did Sony, I believe. And then as Billy notes in his post, it took them another 18 days to sell the other 2 million.
Yeah, whereas Sony did 2.1 in the first week, right?
First month.
Well, they didn't. No, but they didn't start selling at the beginning of November. It's they hit that number by the end of November.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it didn't take them 4 weeks to hit that. Yeah.
So thanks, Microsoft.
Yeah, we appreciate it. You've made our jobs a little easier, but perhaps a little less amusing.
True.
Let's see. You want to talk about the Blockbuster story?
I do want to talk about.
This is a nice way to end the year, I guess. Not if you work for Blockbuster.
Oh God, no. What do you get as like they're not going to give you like a gold watch sort of thing.
You probably get a copy of what's that movie? Click.
Red Vines.
Yeah.
Lots of Red Vines.
Yeah.
Box of Red Vines and a DVD copy of Adam Sandler movies. And,
It's probably what you're expecting for your Blockbuster pension anyway, right? Yeah, so, I mean, the story was over here anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's been over here for a couple of weeks now, and now they're closing the final 90, right? Is it 90 stores? 91.
90 something.
91 stores in the UK by December 16th. And, I mean, when you see things like it's 808 jobs gone, it's a little hard to be kind of cynical and, make fun of Blockbuster. But at the same time, like, well, yeah, they failed to keep up at all, and they shot themselves in the foot a long time ago. Everyone's seen this coming.
Well, what I will say is I don't think that there was a lot that Blockbuster could do to keep their brick and mortar presence around. I mean,
Well, I mean, they don't have a brick and mortar presence, but they don't have any presence.
No, I know. I'm saying, but when we're talking about those 808 jobs, that those would have probably gone away no matter what. Is the point that I'm trying to make. But they relate to every single party. I think is the point you're trying to make. So first they get killed by Netflix, then they get killed by Redbox,
then they get killed by Netflix again.
Then they kill. Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, this is, we hear this story all the time though. It's hard for a giant corporation like that to be nimble. It's tough. It's tough to make that investment. It's a lot easier in some ways if you're a startup to start from scratch.
Yeah.
They're in the movie business, but they weren't in the mailing movie business, and it's hard to make that transition. So they, I guess in a sense it made sense that they wanted to wait to see if that could be a successful model before jumping into it. But they waited way too long for that to happen.
Definitely.
And I mean, weirdly, actually, they weren't terribly far behind on the streaming movie thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Netflix beat them to it.
Yeah.
But they got into it in such a half-assed way where they just, bought up a streaming movie service that nobody had ever heard of and nobody used, slapped the Blockbuster name on it.
It didn't have a good selection.
Yeah. Slapped the Blockbuster, and it was really bad too. Yeah. Like I did use it once just because they were like doing like the free trial. Like I was like, oh, I'll watch Alien for free one night because why not? It took me about 4 hours to get through the movie because it just kept locking up and whatever else. And I know Alien's a really dark movie, I get that, but still, for the most part, I was just staring at a completely black screen that was just shifting boxes of various shades of gray.
That's where you're supposed to go to the bathroom. Get up and go get some Red Vines.
Yeah.
But, I have to wonder, though, I have to wonder if there's enough loyalty to Blockbuster as a company that people would have been super excited to, take that journey with them. I mean, was anybody... I didn't have anybody in my life who was really into Blockbuster as a company.
Does anyone enjoy going to Blockbuster?
No.
Is that a fond memory for anyone?
I liked going to video stores.
Yeah.
Not Blockbuster, though.
Not Blockbuster.
I mean, at one
amazing video stores, but Blockbuster is not.
At one point, they just all became Blockbuster. At one point, there wasn't really an option.
Yeah.
I do miss going to a place and picking a movie off of a shelf.
The same way you miss going to a store and buying a CD.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm not super sad that Tower Records isn't around anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't want to, buy MP3s from Tower Records either. So I don't know. Maybe they were just doomed from the start. But now there's just no. That's it, right? There's no Blockbuster or anything.
I don't think so. I think it's all gone.
Are they all shuttered right now, or did they just announce that they will be closing?
The UK ones, they're not done yet.
So you can get some good.
You can go and get your 90% discount
on Adam Sandler movies.
Adam
4
Sandler.
more days.
Yeah.
Get to it.
In the US, they're all gone already. Yeah. You can go online and add their terrible movies to your queue, though. Apparently, this is still a thing.
Oh, they still have a streaming service?
Apparently, which I was unaware of. I thought they had killed this.
I mean, they may just have just paid for the domain for 5 years.
Yeah, and so it's just
it may just be up there. I mean, if it is still around, it's. I think Tower Records might still have a website too.
Let's find out.
Okay, let's name some companies and just spend the rest of the show seeing if they're still around.
HMV.
No Tower Records site.
Wow. Oh, there you go, Tower.com.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did Tower.
A lot of these are just like white labeled. I mean, a lot of these are just.
Yeah, I mean, this is not the Tower Records you.
Like an escrow company may own Tower.com at this point.
Yeah.
Which also may be the case with Blockbuster, at least in the very near future.
Tower Records was a retail music chain that was based.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I just got a little nostalgic for Tower. Yeah. There was a really good Tower in LA.
I never really
Southern California, right?
I'm from San Diego.
Okay.
There is an okay one.
There was on Sunset. There was like a giant.
I'm sure it was bigger.
Yeah, it was great. But would anyone want to go into a 3-story Blockbuster, for example?
There was actually a 2-story Blockbuster
Really?
down the street from me. Yeah.
They just, but the whole thing about Blockbuster is I don't want to call it curation because I think that's giving them a little too much credit. But they were very stringent about what movies they would and wouldn't accept. And I think they went in, they edited them as well, right?
Really?
That I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that if they got like a kind of sexy indie movie, they'll actually go in and make their own edits to the. That's what I miss. I miss video stores with the beaded curtains.
Yeah,
those were the days.
I actually was never really a Blockbuster customer. I had like a membership there for about 2 months, maybe.
We had something. I don't know if it's out here. Did you guys have Hollywood Video out here?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was what ate up most of our video stores.
Yeah, Blockbuster was what killed them all by me, but I always went to the smaller locally owned ones.
What retail chain do you miss the most, Sarah?
Have to think about that one.
Okay. That's been just utterly destroyed by modern technology. Terrence?
It's a really good question.
Yeah, right?
I don't know. I don't know that there is one that's been like, I mean,
fond memories of like a what are the ones that like coconuts?
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be probably like Virgin Records, like the Megastore, because that's
good $20 CDs.
Yeah, I mean, way
Public
overpriced.
restrooms.
Public restrooms, but I mean, even if it was overpriced, at least Times Square, as terrible as it was, like, oh no, there's 6 floors of albums. I can find literally anything I want, which was kind of nice.
Sure. I'm going to open this up to chat. I should
all 6.
Well, yeah,
of you?
I should note that there's been an issue and chat
actually
is
should
only...
hit us up on Twitter instead.
Sure.
I think that's
if
probably
you're
a better
following
idea.
along but aren't in chat, send. I'm at Beheater, Terrence O'Brien, Sarah Silbert. Send us a tweet. Spend the rest of the show talking about that if you can make it in on time. In the meantime, let's talk about this Facebook sympathize button, which I think is actually a good idea. Because have you ever been staring at a Facebook status update of something terrible really happened in somebody's life
Knowing
and you don't know how to react to it?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I understand when people do.
Yeah.
I think that people were just like, this is what I can do with what currently exists,
Yeah.
and no one's going to think, wow, you liked that.
No,
I mean,
nobody thinks you're actually like the fact that their grandmother died or their cat got run over by a car. Nobody thinks you're actually happy about that.
You
But
know
still,
one
it
dude out
feels a
there.
little
Support,
weird.
you
Yeah.
know?
You know, there's one just sick bastard out there. Who's
That's
just
what's
really-
going to happen. Is there going to be a lot of like actual just nasty
Yeah.
dislikes?
It-
But you know,
Well, yeah, I don't. This isn't dislike though. This is sympathize.
sympathize.
but it's a thumbs.
Oh, that was just I think that was
Oh,
just
really?
a random picture
Okay,
that somebody
so-
made and stuck on there. There's not a lot of details about this. We don't know when it's coming out. I don't know what. God, that's probably what's holding this thing up. Is what would a sympathize button look like? How do you?
Frown.
Yeah.
Head tilted.
How do you do empathy?
Nobody's taught you how to love yet, Brian.
No, I don't have a button for it. I don't know how to feel. Go do that, Facebook. I think that's a good idea. Let's see. I could talk about the Bitcoin mining thing I saw. I could talk about this 3D pen that I saw, but I don't really want to.
So don't.
All right. You guys want to call it a show?
Yeah, I think so. Nobody's shooting us any questions on the Twitters.
Damn it.
And
Someone said they miss CompUSA in Circuit City. I get that about CompUSA. I have fond memories of that place.
This place, those places just got eaten by Best Buy, which
Yeah.
kind of the same. Right?
yeah,
No.
yeah.
There are higher ceilings in CompUSA. It was just
Well,
like
that's
a
important.
more palatial experience.
Okay. You could fly your radio-controlled blimp around there. You know, there's a Radio Shack right across the street that's currently doing renovation in December.
Why?
That seems like bad timing, right?
Yeah, you don't.
Why would you do that at the height of the Christmas season?
I don't know.
Get on a Radio Shack. All right. That's all I got.
Yeah,
Next, somebody make some news.
please.
Make some news next. Make some news before Christmas.
If there isn't any good tech news next week,
We're still doing the podcast.
Oh, well,
I'm
we're still gonna
contractually obligated.
we'll do the podcast, but we're just not going to talk tech. I'm not even going to like feign interest in whatever terrible stories are that we can come on and talk about our favorite noodle houses in the area.
Oh, they just opened up a ramen place in Astoria.
You were telling me.
It's great.
That you're super excited
Vegetable
about that.
ramen.
And I was responding about how we really need one of those on Staten Island, and
Yeah.
it depresses me and makes me feel like I live in a third world country that I don't
What
have
what
ramen.
other things does this? I mean, do you guys miss running water over there too, or?
Sometimes. Well, we were talking about how I couldn't even make it into work the other day because there was half an inch of snow on the ground.
Somebody just asked if there's a show next week. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if I can live in this world anymore without hot tech news.
Without any blockbusters,
that was-
Brian is lost.
Victor, Hal Sherman misses when Best Buy was good. I don't know what that means.
What does that mean?
I don't know what that means. I
When Best Buy was
good
was that ever?
before they sold out. I don't.
Man.
But you can okay. Granted, maybe you can't get PC parts at Best Buy, but I don't know, Staples maybe you can get some motherboards.
You can get
Radio
PC
Shack.
parts at Best Buy.
Can you?
Yeah, absolutely. You
Depends
can.
on the Best. I don't know. I've not been to Best Buy in a long time. What did you buy at a Best Buy?
I mean, I on principle don't like to spend money
Sure.
at Best Buy, but I mean, I've bought hard drives and graphics cards there before.
I know what we can talk about. Oh, I got a good idea, guys. Speaking of Radio Shack, so they've been trying to reinvent themselves in the past year or so by kind of returning to the roots and make it like I don't want to say quite like a maker space, but they're selling like Arduino boards, Raspberry Pis,
I mean,
things like that.
because it was one of the places where those sorts of people could still get like components like
Yeah.
resistors and that sort of stuff, and so they've just sort of embraced it and started selling the Arduinos and things.
I think it's great. I
It
think
is
it's great. I like the idea of a big corporation that's willing to sort of shift its focus a little bit with changing times. But I don't know if people. I mean, can you think of a time when you just really need an Arduino board that you couldn't get online?
No.
I mean,
not an Arduino board, but I mean, because
a
that
little component.
yeah, that I have actually, but
Yeah.
like I really need this for this project or whatever, and like, oh, I have to go to Radio Shack
Yeah.
because where else are you going to get it?
I didn't realize that their tagline is "Let's play." That sounds new.
Yep. Oh, the Shack thing didn't really take, did it?
No, it did
No.
not.
That was just
I'm
met with
very glad.
a lot of really upset people.
The
It was
Shack.
it could have done a Shaquille O'Neal tie-in. Could have been a Shake Shack thing. The sky was the limit. You could have
Yeah.
you could have started making Radio Shack stores out of like grass. I like because I like when like a Taco Bell goes out of business and something else moves in, and it was clearly a Taco Bell before, but now it's an insurance place because it's like made out of faux adobe.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got.
All
This has been the Engadget podcast for the week of December the 9th.
Sure.
Sounds right to me. We'll probably be back next week. If you have any ideas of things we can talk about, doesn't have to be tech related. I'm open.
No. Next week should be like an all requests. Just what do you want us to talk about?
Oh man, Engadget Total Request Live.
Yeah. You can start putting in your suggestions now, and
Should we have a prize for the person who can guess which Engadget editor was on TRL?
yeah,
Yes.
we'll dig something out of the closet
Yeah?
and we'll give it away on the next show.
All right, so tweet us. Tweet us on Twitter. I'm at BHeater, at Terrence O'Brien, at Sarah Silbert, and the first person who can guess which current, because I don't know about the former ones. I'm sure they've all. I'm sure Joanna Stern's been on Total Request Live more times than anybody cares to mention. First person who could figure out which current Engadget editor was on.
Did the cold open?
Cold open
for
with
Total Request Live.
Met Jesse Camp.
Yep.
America's greatest patriot. Will win
A thing we'll take out
that
of
we
the
were probably going to throw out anyways.
Something you probably don't want.
All right, thanks everybody. This has been the Engadget Podcast, and will continue to be so if we don't change the name by next week. Which anything's on the table at this point. We'll see you next week.